because I was went to 2 funerals, but one of them was before I was 5, so I don't even remember it. It was my grandma's funeral. And then the other one wasn't even someone in my family. It was just somebody I knew from high school, and she went on vacation with her family, and her family at the beach got caught in riptide, and she was also in the riptide, but she and one of her sisters got out, and her dad got out, but then went back to help the 15-year-old sister, and they both died. So, and she called me because she was really distraught, and I flew out the next day to go to the funeral because she was a mess. Yeah. And I just remember seeing, like, it was a family of like 7 kids, and their dad and their 15-year-old sister just suddenly died. And it really affected me because, I mean, I wasn't even part of the family. I was just there because she was really affected. And I don't know, I was just thinking about how you work through something like that. That someone is there and out there. And I was thinking about Olivia and those moments when she's in her bed at night and she just wants to cry out for anonymity because she wants her mother so badly. And kind of how that takes out the hope, because you know you want something so bad and you know there's no way of answering that desire because the person is dead. And I was thinking about how that kind of connects to the whole message of the story, because to have a desire or something that's hopeless, but then in the story it seems like it talks a lot about the open possibilities. So I was saying before how the whole ending, how there's the possibility that maybe it was the magic of God, and how that counterworks against that hopeless situation, you know.
I think as you were just talking, I was thinking she can never have what she most wants. Right. But I think what the story is saying in this instance and in our lives is that even when you can't have what you most want, there are other good things still available to you if you can shift.
If you can let go.
Yeah, and say, this, I'll never have this, but these can be enough, or these can satisfy that need in a different way.
And I think that's what happened for Olivia at the end when she didn't want to leave Aunt Minty's.
Right.
She was looking forward to going to school with Jill and wanted to stay the whole fall. That I think she finally let go, and that she shifted her focus to, well, if I can't have Mom, Aunt Minty could be the stand-in or the substitute. And I think that's what happened.
Right. And not just Aunt Minty, but the school. I mean, you know, she met the principal when she got up, locked on the roof, and she made these friends, and
the 2 boys.
Yeah.
And then the Nellie was going to gymnastics and kindergarten, or there's like some other church community or school community or something that they're kind of feeling this can. But my mother died of breast cancer, and so I of course thought that could happen to me and my children could be left, and there's a moment where you think it can never be as good for them if I'm not there. I am the one who makes their lives.
Right.
But then you think, well, they'd have these people from church, and they have these teachers, and they have these family members, and you know, they'd be okay. It wouldn't be the same. It would never be the same, but it would be okay, and they would get the things they need. They would be different, and so I do think that connection to death. I mean, that is a universal connection that we can all. And it's not, and of course, it's never over, because I've read, when I was a youth minister, I read a book, Motherless Daughters, and no matter what your age, every time you have a milestone, you graduate from high school, you wish your mother was there. You graduate from college, you have a baby, you get married. You're never done with wanting that hopeless thing to be true. You know.
Yeah. You know, something you said actually gave me a little bit more clarity about Olivia. What you said about how she reaches that point where she doesn't want to leave. And I was thinking about the community building that you were talking about. And it made me think of how when she's at night, what she does is she builds a community in her mind with the cracks. Like she divides it up into different lands, and she thinks of her mother as being a part of that community. Right. And granted, she has to leave behind her mother and start, but almost what she's doing to the ceiling is what's happening in her own life as the story moves on. She's starting to get that community that she belongs in. And I think that just kind of cleared up a little bit more for me, how she does start building
Sort of her
her home,
processing.
or, yeah, around her, a land where she belongs.
Land, yeah. Well, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And actually, as I think about it, that's a pretty mature, to think about her mother and worry about her mother's place.
Mhm.
What, I'm not sure, when my mom died, Olivia was 5, and all she knew was she was missing her grandmother. She wasn't concerned about what happened. Is grandma okay wherever she is? That was
Right.
But I think Abby, she would have been 9, that's similar age, and she had some more questions about where did grandma go, and but I think but once those were sort of answered, she was done, and it was still about I miss grandma. She used to play with me, and she wrote to me, and it was more me, and not so much about. She wouldn't have had that need, but that's a grandmother that you see.
Yeah.
She's in California, and we're here.
Yeah.
That's not someone who's a part of your life every day.
Yeah.
So maybe that is a realistic thought, that she'd be wanting her mother to be happy and have
Yeah.
a place to belong.
Yeah, and she must be projecting her own struggles
Right.
onto her mother.
Right. Well, I went through that, what Olivia goes through, wondering, is she in the right place? Is she happy? I mean, I was 20-something, but I was very close to my grandfather. That's who my son is named after. And he passed away suddenly. And I know for months he would visit me in my dreams. And he would answer my questions. I'm happy, I'm at where you think I am and stuff like that. So I agree that's probably what she was, that's probably what she was doing.
But boy, these book discussions are helpful, aren't
I
they?
know, right?
Let's see. Other, well, how about your other visualization? What was that?
Well, this one was, let me show it to you. The tulips with the teapot underneath them, and it's the second teapot, the one they find at the very end. And I wrote, I believe, and I underlined that, because I'm talking about that word, that the second teapot is magical. And I said believe because think that faith or belief in something is a choice you make. And I think that the story at the very end leaves that choice up to you. And you know in your head that, just like little kids working through the dilemma of Santa Claus, they have to work through, it can't be real, like.
No, it's okay. Olivia does not believe in Santa Claus.
Okay, I'm just
My
making
Olivia.
Okay.
We can continue.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
That's okay.
Working through that, because they know it's not, it can't be real, because they
Right.
work through
They
it.
want it to be real.
It's not possible to go around the world in
Right.
one night. But they, at the same time, there's that choice of believing in it, in defiance of your reason, because you recognize almost a greater good
Right.
in the belief. And I'm not talking about like belief in a faith,
Right.
like God. I'm more talking about the imagining, like the world of that magical stuff that
Stuff.
you know is not there, but you still make that choice
To believe.
to believe. And so I think I made that choice at the end to believe that the second teapot was magical and that they were going to put it all together and the flower children were going to come back. And in defiance of the fact that I knew there was no such thing as the little green pixie
skin,
things.
Yeah.
But I still, because I wanted the story to be that way, because it was a better story to me if it ended that way. So I think that I like how the book leaves that choice up to the children.
Because I even thought about what would the lost flower children look like when they came back, and how would
Yes.
they? Would it just pick up like with them at that age when it happened, or would they be adults, or
Yeah.
So I went
if
on.
you believe that Aunt Minty is the smallest child, would she get her sister's mother back?
But if so, she would be 75 and they would be 8 and 9.
I know.
So
Yeah.
and that's partly why it's good to end it right there, because
Yes.
you can't live it out. It's too complicated and
Yeah.
confusing and
Mhm.
magical. And
Uh-huh.
there's a lot of things like that if you think too hard about it, logically,
Yes,
you
and
can't
that's why I
get
chose
there.
that word believe.
Mhm.
I believe the second teapot is magical. Not because I'm not sure, but because I made that choice
Right.
that I wanted the book to end that way. So,
Well, actually, I'm going to confess to you that in our family, we never had, in this family, I grew up believing in Santa Claus. We didn't have Santa come to our house. We had family that gave us gifts, and we just like there were more important things to believe in than Santa.
Mhm.
And guess what? Abby started believing in the tooth